everyone, today I thought I would do this heart shaped picture because of us coming up to sort of Valentine's Day. This is from Rita Berman's Asian book, and I thought it would be a cute one to do. It will also give me the opportunity to talk to you about Rita Berman's new books that are coming out. And I'm going to be using a set of pencils. I'm not sure if I've used them yet on video. I've also got a slightly new lighting set up, slightly different. I don't know if it's going to make a significant difference or not, but anyway, I will see it, even if you don't. Right, I'm using Faber Castell, I think they're called Classic Colour on the barrels. They are the ones that come in the red box. Now, they only have numbers and not names on the pencils, although some people have managed to find the numbers. I haven't yet. I haven't been done that much of a detective job. I did start looking, to be honest, and I found that what happens is the number, let's show you one. So this one here has got the number at the end. It says 392. Now a 92 is a specific colour, okay, and the 3 represents this set. So the polychromos are 1 at the beginning. So the white in this set, for example, is 301, and the poly's white is 101. However, this set does not have all the same colours as the polychromos. So it does have the one, and I also found that some of the colours seem to differ slightly. So the 307, for example, was not the same as the 107. So I got a little bit confused with names, so I didn't do a comparison chart with any names on. I'm going to start this flower here. But what I did do, I'm just decided that I'm going to do every flower in a sort of different type of colour. This one I want to do as a blue daisy. So I'm just going to grab a blue while I'm yabbering. This is 351. I'm going to do the start of the petals here near the, excuse me, near the centre. Like this. I'm going to put a few layers here and then basically taper it off. So some of the colours, although the numbers, the end numbers were the same as the polychromos, they didn't feel like they were the same. So I got a bit confused. I have done a comparison chart. I've also done one for Prismacolor as well, in case those are your favourites. As far as I can tell, Prismas and Polys seem to be some of the most popular brands across the colouring community. So those are the ones I tend to do swatch charts, comparison charts for first. So I've only done those. I've done a swatch chart for these, which I've actually got here. The original. I've also swatched my pastel ones there as well, in case I wanted to use those. They haven't got numbers or names, so yeah. And this is the thing with more budget pencils, is they don't tend to have so much attention to detail, shall we say. So they don't have a name maybe, or maybe not even a number. Yeah, it makes it a little bit difficult to make videos from them when there's nothing to sort of refer to. If you want to copy, you can't, because I can't give you that detail. That makes it a little bit tricky. So anyway, I've done these charts as best to my ability, and I haven't been able to confidently work out what the names are. I might write to Faber Castell and ask them. It's a possibility, something I might do if people are interested in that. I don't mind dropping them a little email. They've probably got a UK office somewhere that I could write to rather than the German one, but it doesn't really matter. I'm sure they've got someone there who would be able to do English. Germans are so good. I used to work with a German. Her English was better than mine. So rather embarrassing, to be honest. But there we go. That's that. So that is what I'm about these pencils. Now, another thing about these pencils is they are a lot cheaper than the polychromos. They are a budget range. I think they're either a student or a student or kids range. I guess it's probably the same thing. I don't know. I'm going to go for a much lighter one now for the tips. I'm going to use this one, which is 347. And I'm just going to go over about half of what I've done, and then take that lighter colour to the tip. Like that. So yes, it's a cheaper range, so that means that if you don't have the budget for the polychromos, you can get a feel for some of the colours, but they don't feel the same. I use the word feel. They are harder. Now, polychromos are a hard pencil in the sense that they don't smush about, they don't blend without, you have to layer them. Now these are the same. They're hard, you have to layer them, but they are harder. So they might last a bit longer, hold their point for longer, maybe not break so easily, but they are a bit harder work to sort of blend and things. I'm actually finding this okay, but I wouldn't use them for, say, a huge area of colour. You know, the picture page where there's lots of detail, which I know would suit this sort of pencil. But then, to be honest, I tend not to do backgrounds with polychromos either. They're so... it takes a long time. So I would rather use a chalk pastel or Prismacolor, something softer. So that's that. So let's talk about Rita. Rita Berman's books. Now, I have announced this before in my newsletter, but Rita formally announced it yesterday that her publishers already announced it, so it wasn't like big secrets, but she is releasing 3 of her German language titles in English, so people can buy an English version. This is 383. I'm going to go around the edge of here, but not the whole of it. Well, I'm going to do the whole of the edge, but I'm not going to do the whole of the centre. I'm just going to gently taper it off as I come in, like that, and then use a different yellow. So 3 of her books are being produced in English, 307. I have a feeling there might be another one as well, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but I'll tell you the details first. Her Lander book, what's it called? Die Welt unter der Lupe zu Lande and Die Welt unter der Lupe zu Wasser, which is water. So her Land, the world under the microscope by water and by land, they have been translated into English and called Hidden Ocean and Hidden Earth. That's right, getting there. Brain slowly ticking into action. It's you know, so that's those 2. This is 326, and there's also one. I'm going to use this for the whole of this petal. There's also one called Hidden Seasons, which is her compilation book of her 4 seasons titles. So she's got Winter, I don't know how to spell winter in German. Mein Winter, Spaziergang, and then Sommer, and then the spring one, and the autumn one. I can't remember the words for spring and autumn. Frauenlings and Herbst, I think. Oh, memory. It's a long time since I studied German. So my summer walk, spring walk, winter walk, and autumn walk are all available as separate books, which I have. But there is a compilation book called My Walk Through the Year. Is it Mein Jahreszeiten Spaziergang something? I can't remember. Anyway, and that one is sort of the best pages out of the others. So it is a sort of, there's a few from each book. And that book is another one that's now being released in English. Now, what Rita said in her post on Instagram was that the pictures are the same, but with a completely new cover, but with a few tweaks. So I don't know what that means. Whether there's a few that she didn't like or her publisher didn't like. Also, the other big thing is the book is going to be a different size. Now, she says it's going to be 9 by 9. Now, I don't know what size this book is, but I thought this book was 9 by 9, so I was confused. This is my ruler. This is, that's 6. Oh, this book is nearly 8. So it's going to be, sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. It's probably going to be about 1¼ inches bigger. So not hugely bigger, but that's height and width. So it'll be a little bit bigger, which is interesting. Obviously the publisher in America, I think. I want to say America. Wants, this is 325, it's sort of dark pink, I'm thinking, for this one here. They always, oh, no, I need to do that bit. What am I doing? Talking, not thinking. I want to go black for that bit. So this is the 399. Just do these little bits in black. Yes, because she said it was coming to the US and Canada. So I'm assuming that she's got an American publisher. She did name them, but I didn't recognise the name. But then I'm not up on all the publishers. I wouldn't know. I could look it up, but I haven't. Right, back to my pink. 325 for this one. So I'm assuming it'll be on They are on UK Amazon. I have seen them, as well as US Amazon. I've seen them there already, and I've actually put some links in my one of my newsletters and potentially on my socials as well. This one I'm going to do in 2 colours as well, so I'm going to layer up here and just fade, sort of just beyond the centre. So that's Rita's news, which is good, but she drew this picture on her. You may have seen it if you follow her on Instagram. And she's written out the letters 2025 in sort of like bubble writing, and then filled it in with different sketches. And it looked to me like one of the letters represented her oceans book, one represented her earth book, her lander, and one Vasa. One looked like the seasons, and the other one looked like Europa. So I have a theory, conspiracy theory, that maybe Europa is going to be produced as well in English, and it would make sense because it features the UK, but and it, you know, but I don't know. So it may have just been that she needed another theme for her other letter that she drew and coloured in. It's a beautiful thing. You really ought to, if you're a fan of Rita's, following her on Instagram is a joy, because she sometimes colours her own art, and her style is absolutely beautiful. She doesn't have colour along videos in the traditional sense, but she does show sometimes her sort of painting or colouring just a little bit, but then you can see the finished article, and it's beautiful. And sometimes I try and copy the colours that she's used, because they're just lovely. I think the front of her books she colours, if you look at this, there's so many bright and pretty colours, bits and blends, and just lovely. So yeah, and some of her work, and she uses a lot of gold paint as well for like highlights, edges and different things. Oh, it's just lovely. So I would recommend having a look. As I say, it's not proper colour alongs, but there are little reels, videos, things like that of her doing different things. It's just lovely. So that is Rita's news. I blabbed on about the pencils. If you want to, as I say, there's a comparison chart to polychromos, but if you have polychromos and you like them and you can afford them, I wouldn't recommend going for a cheaper Faber Castell brand. I would only say do that if you're struggling to afford pencils. Go for the most expensive one you can within the brand that you like, because they're going to just be better. I've never come across a brand where a cheaper one is better than an expensive one. Makes sense, doesn't it? But occasionally you do worry that you're being ripped off, but with a good brand like Faber Castell, that isn't the case. I don't know what makes an expensive and a cheap pencil within the same company, what they do that's different. But I mean, light fastness would be a biggie. There's probably none. Although I did look at a chart, and these do vary in light fastness, but they're not as good as the polychromos. That's one thing. As I say, they're also a little bit harder, so maybe making them soft is more expensive with regards to the materials they have to put in. I don't really know. My friend Mary actually sent me a very interesting video about the difference between cheap and expensive pencils. And it was a Business Insider video from YouTube. I think I've seen it before, but again, it was interesting to watch it again. And they were at the Faber Castell factory, and they were explaining that this was fascinating, that the colour pigments are different shapes, the crystals are different shapes, and therefore they need different amounts of wax and oil combined with them to give the same hardness as another one. So if, let's say, for example, the pink one might be a different shape to the yellow one. So you can't use, say, 20% wax, 80%, 70% oil and then 10% pigment in all of them, because they're not going to be the same hardness as each other. And that would make it makes it very difficult when you're colouring, because you can't work out quite how to layer or whatever when you haven't got consistency. This is 319, and I have to say I have noticed that in certain sets that that certain colours are harder or softer than others. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. But also cheap sets, not expensive sets. But also I have noticed that certain colours seem to break more easily, and that's even within an expensive set. And now I'm wondering whether that's because they have a different amount of wax or oil in them, and that makes some of them more brittle than others. But it might just be me, I don't know. But I just thought that was quite interesting. But it was also talking about, you know, what makes the difference between cheap and expensive, and they had an artist on there who tried out what are they called, it'll come to me in a minute, a cheap pencil and then polychromos, and coloured with them and showed how they didn't blend as easily, and the pencils, Crayola they were, left a huge wax bloom excuse me, on the page, which she didn't want. Also, they weren't light fast, which she needed. Being a professional artist that sold her work, she had to have a light fast pencil. Obviously, for most colorists, that isn't a problem if we keep our pictures in the book and, you know, don't expose it to light very often. Light fastness isn't really a key problem. However, having a nice blend and an easy blend is something that is important to us, because it makes our pictures look nice and makes our job easier, stops us getting cramp in our hands and all sorts of other reasons. Now, what do we have here? We have this great big, I'm going to do that in just one colour because the petals are quite small. I think I'm going to use an orange. I'm going to just do a bit of a random mix of colours here. I did say that at the beginning anyway. This is 314. It will help you to see what colours are available in this set a bit more. I know I have reviewed them and sort of done that anyway, but I think it's nice to see it in a sort of proper picture rather than just a testing situation. I think you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah, so what's been going on with me? Well, tricky, stressful stuff. So my husband had a bit of a health scare, which was quite stressful. He'd been having calf pain for quite a long time, and I just assumed, well, it was interesting. He had 3 weeks off over Christmas, and in the 3rd week he started to get leg pain. Now, I assumed he'd just sprained a muscle or something because he'd been sitting about and then maybe gone for a walk and just, you know, overdid it because he hadn't been walking very much. But he tried to make an appointment with the doctor. He was saying how painful it was, but he's got a really low pain threshold, so it's very hard to judge how bad the pain is. And paracetamols were knocking the pain out, so I thought, it can't be like really bad, you know. Anyway, so he was going to make an appointment at the doctor, and he looked online and the only doctor available was one that he didn't like, so he didn't. And then he went back to work, and the first week he was back, it wasn't too bad. He was so concentrated on work that he didn't really notice it. And then the second week it started getting really bad, and so I just was like, I think it was it was this Monday. It was really bad, and he had had a really bad night and kept me awake in pain, which he'd done a few nights anyway. And so I was like, this is it, I'm just going to phone the doctor and ask for an emergency appointment. So I phoned up, and the receptionist said it's not really an emergency, you know, but she said I can get you in with a couple of student doctors this afternoon. Get him in. Okay, so went up and told him. He was just getting out of bed. I'd done it really early in the morning, and he said it's really swollen and spongy, and I'm struggling to walk on it. And I was like, okay, lucky I phoned the doctor, because this is a bit weird. It's suddenly started swelling up. So some of you may have guessed, by the time we got in, he said, having self-diagnosed all sorts of different things, because he does that, Dr. Google, you know, he said, I think it could be DVT, deep vein thrombosis. And I was like, oh, he's just exaggerating. The week before, he was telling me it was sepsis, you know, because he was hot. Yeah, so anyway, I went to the doctor. Unfortunately, that's what they think it is as well. They put him immediately, what they do in the UK with sepsis, I don't know if they do this, is they immediately put you on blood thinners just in case, to protect you, and then get you in for a scan. So they got him onto some blood thinners, which I had to go and collect from the chemist. And I phoned up yesterday and organised a scan for him, so which he's got on Friday. So, but it's already getting better. Now, obviously, it's really good that it's getting better, but that makes me think that it's definitely deep vein thrombosis, because the precautionary meds are working. So that's a bit of a worry. So I'm trying to get him exercising more. There are lots of risk factors. Obviously, I've done loads of research on it now. So risk factors of being overweight or obese, which he is, but he is slowly losing weight. Since he's been on his ADHD medication, it curbs your appetite. So has been losing weight, and he's lost about a stone in a year. So I think that's really good, and if he can carry on with that, I think that's a positive step. So I don't think there's any more work needs to be done there, really. We don't want to dangerously, like, suddenly lose loads of weight, you know. Then there's the inactivity. On a work day, he walks from the car to the office, and he walks about a mile each way. So, but because he's only working 3 days a week, then the other 4 days he doesn't tend to walk very much, and he doesn't want to, and he doesn't like it. But he spent quite a lot of the day on Monday looking into exercise that he can do that he feels would work for him. So he's found something that he thinks will work. So hopefully he's right. Now this daisy looks very much like the blue one that we did already, but I don't want to do it the same, so I'm going to grab some purple or violet. This is 41. So so he's found this exercise that he's going to do. Can't do it every day because it's strength training as well as cardio, so you have to have rest days. But he did that yesterday morning. He got up early, did the exercise before he sort of showered and dressed and that sort of thing, which is good, so he can just quickly slot it in. It doesn't take too long. And said he had a really good day at work where he felt very alert, which was interesting. So it made him feel motivated to keep that up, so that's good. Other lifestyle factors I've seen are not sitting for long periods. So I asked him, you know, did you manage to get up from your desk at work? No, couldn't do that. Couldn't put his leg up at work. And I said, could you not just move your foot around a bit, you know, rotate your ankle, that sort of thing? And he said no. He was just, because of his ADHD, he can't concentrate on more than one thing at once. So once he's engrossed in his work, he can't think about anything else. And it takes him sort of 10-15 minutes to settle into a task. This is 39. So that means that he's that's quite pale, isn't it, compared to this one? Oh well, I'll make it work. Just go over it all. I think it'll work better. Okay. So he can't, if he had to stop and think about rotating his foot, it would distract him from his work. Unfortunately, although his meds clear his head and allow him to concentrate hard at work and get into sort of flow or whatever, it does mean that he, you know, he's never really been able to multitask anyway. He can't do that, so that's a little bit of a concern. He also, dehydration is another thing. Now he's very, very bad with this. He will have a cup of tea and a coffee first thing in the morning, and both decaf, but his coffee is milky, very milky, it's all milk. And he will then, often at work, have a couple of milky coffees. I think, no, he has flat whites, a couple of flat whites in the day, and then come home and have another tea and a milky coffee, and that'll be it. So I suspect he's probably getting quite dehydrated. This is number 9. We're going to do the centre. I'm going to do it similar to this, but I think because we've got a bit of an angle, we might put a bit more at the bottom, a bit less at the top. So so drinking is the thing. I did suggest that he likes a fizzy water, so I suggested he bought a bottle of fizzy water and put it on his desk. But he's like, then I have to keep getting up and going to the loo, and I haven't got the time for that. And I'm like, ooh. 3:04 is quite frustrating. And the other factor was salt and blood pressure. But his blood pressure is normal. For he was like, he's usually under 120/80, which is the sort of normal range, isn't it? So his blood pressure is normally fine. We've got a leaf here, I'm going to do that. So I'm not quite so concerned about the salt thing. 366. He doesn't eat processed foods. He makes his food himself, so he does add a little salt and eats butter, which salted butter, but not, I suppose he does have mayonnaise and ketchup, which probably do have a fair bit in, but he doesn't have like ready meals, takeaways, things like that, and he does eat a bit of cheese, but not as much as he used to. I think I messed up here. I haven't really got a lighter green. Apart from, I just have to try it. This really light green, like it's like the May green, I think. 371. I'm just going to try and blend them together. I think it might not work. May have messed up. So diet, I think is okay. In the week it's not so good. So when he's not at work. So on a work day I make him a lunchbox with a salad, so he gets loads of different veg. But when he's at home, he'll have toast with butter and cheese. So I'm wondering whether to try and get him to have a bit more salad on days he's not at work as well. But we'll see. In the evening he has roasted veg and a tomato sauce and a piece of fried bread, which he fries in olive oil, not butter. I think that's okay. It's a little bit odd, but I think it'll work. It'll do. Right, let's move in. How long have we been going? Oh, I need to just put my... we've got this big one. Should we do this big one? I just need to pop my tablet back on because I'm just checking that my son's okay. He's at uni. He's fine. This large one here now. Quite tempted by some reds, but let's try this one. I don't know what colour this actually is. 321. It's a good one. Quiz show. Do you remember 321? I'm just going to come out a tad because it's quite big. There we go. So what I'm going to do with this one, I'm not going to do the centre at the minute. I'm going to make it darker in here. Inside near the centre, and then taper it off, and we'll grab a lighter red colour to sort of finish it off. Yeah, 321, Ted Rogers, that's my childhood. It was, I don't even really remember it. So all I remember is that it was on Saturday nights, and contestants were maybe pairs, and there was definitely more than one in a sort of competing group team. Yeah. I don't know what they would have to do, but if they lost, they would get a prize of a little dusty bin, which was like a little like, it looked like a dustbin, but had sort of arms and face and stuff, and I always wanted one, which I think loads of people did. And there was this sort of trend at the time to have a bedroom bin which was looked like that, but my parents couldn't afford to buy me the actual one, so they got me a sort of copy, which was basically a flower pot covered in furry fabric with a face felt, you know, eyes, nose and mouth stuck on it, and some sort of wobbly arms. But I still wanted the real one. As you do as a child. That isn't what I asked for. So my husband's, him and his brother are still upset by the fact that they wanted a BMX bike and they ended up being given a folding bike instead, because their parents thought they needed something more practical. My parents didn't do the practical thing, they did that, oh, we've got such a tight budget we can't afford to buy it thing. But my mum always liked to get us lots of presents, so she went for cheaper items. My sister does the same. She likes to buy her kids lots of things, so she'll go lots of little cheaper things. I tend to buy people just one thing. I looked at this, not so much with my kids, but with other people. I looked at this piece of research once which said that if you give someone lots of presents, they tend not to remember any of them, what they got. But if you give them just one thing, they're much more likely to remember it. I don't always just give one thing, but I wrap it up as one gift. I think it's easier. You know. So at Christmas, for example, I did get my niece a selection of, I think I got some shower gels and some chocolates, because my budget, that's how my budget was, and I couldn't find more expensive shower gel, for example. We've got a ladybird there, need some red for them, for that one as well. I suppose we could do a yellowy orange one. Okay, so there's my base for that one, and I need a much lighter red for the tips. So I'm going to grab this one. What's this? 318. And I'm just sort of start about halfway. I want them to be quite solid. I don't want any white on the edge. This is quite an orangey red. Oh, excuse me, I've got hiccups. So yes, I've been spending, so I haven't made many videos. I've been spending time doing research. Oh, I've got an itchy eye. And things like that, and taking my husband to doctors, and making him hospital appointments and things like that. My boys are back at uni this week, so I've been trying to get back into that routine as well. And it's quite hard to remember who's where and when at the minute, so that's all taxing my brain. So there's that. Yesterday I had a long walk as well. I've been trying to walk every day, actually. I mean, now my husband's health scares made me think even more about it. Not that we have any history of that sort of thing in our family, but then doesn't always work out that way, does it? That the history determines what you get. But my son wanted to hang a curtain in his bedroom well, a blanket up to hide some junk, basically. And so we came up with an easy plan. It's very hard to put curtain rails and things up in our house because it's just thin plasterboard. So I said, well, we could put some picture hooks up, which is what we usually use, and then we could hang some clips from that and hang it up. So we came up with a plan, but we had no picture hooks, so I went out and bought some, but the only place that had them was so far away. Well, about 35 minutes walk, which was quite a long way yesterday in the rain and wind, but it did me good. I needed some time with my thoughts, so I came back and I didn't record yesterday, but as I said, I needed some of my own time with my own thoughts, so I did that. Went for that walk. It sort of thought about things and then wrote some stuff down and tried to clear my head a little bit. So that was that. And then because I had, what was going on yesterday? Who was here? Both boys had gone out, but they weren't going out till 11:20. So I was doing I don't know what I was doing in the morning, fiddling about. And then went out as soon as they left, came back. By the time I got back, I phoned my mum, and then it seemed to be, it was time for tea-ish. Now the centre of this, I want to do yellow again. We've used all the yellows. I think what I might do is just grab this very light brown. This is number, I'm struggling to see, 337. I'm going to put a little bit of this on these dotty areas. You see where it's been marked as if it's shadowy. And then over these dots here, you can see I'm having to really layer that up for it to show up quite hard. And then I'm going to use one we've used already for a flower centre. This is the 383, I think. My eyes are getting blurred. I thought if I set my lights up in a different way it might stop my blurry vision, but it's not. But I did go to an optician and check, and they said they didn't think it was. I'm going to just change the angle of my light very slightly, see if that helps. They didn't think it was anything serious to worry about. So that was okay. Right, I'm going to start with this green 372 for this leaf here. I'm going to just put a darker bit on the edge. So it's quite confusing now. So Monday's one of my boys is out early, the other one's at home, and husband's at home. And then Tuesday, both husband's at work and both boys go out 11:20, and I get the afternoon to myself. And then Wednesdays, one boy's home, the other's out early. They're both home in the afternoon, and husband's out. Thursday, husband's out. One boy's out all day, and the other one's home all day. And then I'm going to use 370 for the tips, the flower, leaf, sorry. And then on a Friday, both boys are out in the afternoon. They leave sort of late morning, and husband is home, so we get a bit of time together. So that's going to be a novelty and interesting. But I've got to go out today. What time is it? 10:30. Oh, I've got to go and finish descaling the kettle. It's such an exciting life that I lead. The family were complaining that they couldn't see what level the water was in the kettle on the sort of thing on the side that shows you how much water's in it. So but we have a water softener, so we shouldn't really need to descale stuff, but I said I would have a go because I happen to have some descaler. This is 353. I'm going to use it for this flower up here. So yes, I put some it's some citric acid, I think it said it was, in the kettle, so I need to go and sort that out in a minute. I'm going to need a coffee, but I'm going to have to boil it a few times and chuck away the water for a bit. I don't know about you, but I don't like the taste of kettle descaler. And see if it's worked. I don't know if it will have. They were talking about, it was interesting because they were saying, oh, we should get a see-through kettle because then we'll be able to easily see how much water is in it. Okay, I was like, not sure. Went to father-in-law's at the weekend. This is 344 for the sort of other bits. And he's got a see-through kettle. It's like glass. He said it is the most useless kettle. I think it was Russell Hobbs. She says going to start dissing a brand. But he's managed to already chip the spout, which made him very cross, or crack or something. Yes, you can see the water boiling. It puts a light in. It's very pretty. But he said it's just, he's just so cross and disappointed with the whole thing, you know. Going to use this one. Oh, I think that's just going to be a bit too similar to that. Let's not do that. Put that away. We'll use that another time. I think, see, that could be leaves. It could be one of these. I think it's this sort of flower. So, I know. Let's do this. Is a very bright colour. Well, dark, intense. That's the word I'm looking for. 336. One day, I'll get all the words out. But so he said he wouldn't recommend it at all. So that was a shame. So we'll have to, if my descaling doesn't work, we'll have to come up with a different plan. But I can't. I find it so boring. I'm just not interested enough in these sorts of things to want to do the research. You know, 336. So I won't want. I'm not looking forward to having to do that. Husband likes doing that sort of thing, so he might do it. Even the kids might do it if they're that strongly opinionated about what we do. I'm intrigued by this colour, 342. This looks to me like a cornflower blue or an imperial violet. I'm going to do this flower. It does need a sharpener. There we go. I'm just looking at the time. I think this will be the last flower, and then we'll come back and do some more in another video. I'm, you know, excited about descaling my kettle. Are you? You don't want to come over and help? Or maybe you've got your own to do. Oh dear. You might not live in a hard water area. It's quite funny because I was talking to someone about how hard the water was. And they almost made it, oh, our water's much harder in our area than yours, as if it was some sort of competition as to who has the hardest water. I'm like, well, there is no, oh, I've looked it up and there's this scale and this town's harder than blah blah town. So, is it really that important to, I don't know, it's quite interesting, isn't it? That I also used to know someone who used to always want their weather to be more extreme than ours. So it was like, oh, it's been really lovely weather here, you know, compared to, you know, if it was just dull here. Oh, we've had lovely weather. Or if it was raining, oh, we've had terrible storms, you know, that sort of thing, as if there's some sort of one-upmanship on who has the worst or whatever, or the best. It's a very odd thing. I don't really understand it, but anyway, it was, yeah, a bit strange. But anyway, this was going back a long time. Maybe people don't do that anymore, hopefully. Anyway, it just tickled me, really. Like, But they used to live on, the weather one person used to live on the coast, so weather is a bit more extreme, I think, on the coast. Sometimes it tends to be windier, absolutely, definitely, you know, so that's the thing, for sure. Now, I know we've got these little things here, and we've got lots of dots and things going on. I'm probably going to leave that to the end, and I might, if I remember, and maybe grab a metallic pencil or something to do that. We've just got to do this centre. Now, I quite like the idea of doing more of a lemony yellow for that centre. I think it's going to much better. Sorry, just wiping my eye and putting my hand over my mouth. 304. So I'm going to just use the 304 for this and see. I just want it to look a bit greener. I think that's okay. Just going to layer it up so that you can see it. There we go. Now let's zoom out so we can see what we've done so far. Now you could match your nearest colours. You don't have to, you know, if you haven't got these pencils, there's, you know, oh, should put it straight. There we go. As I say, you can match your nearest colours. You can see they're not massively intense. You know, I've used the darkest purple. I used it there, didn't I? Some of the darker colours, they're not really jumping out the page. They're a bit more subtle, and I think it's because the pencils are hard that they don't show up as intensely. I could layer them all. Like here's a bit scruffy, I have to say, now I'm looking at it, so I probably ought to have layered that up a little bit more. But you know, I think the more you layer, the more intense you'll get. So we could play with that a little bit maybe next time. But there is today's finished part. I'm sure we'll get it finished next time, but I'm going to go off and deal with my exciting kettle. So hopefully you'll come back tomorrow, but please do like, subscribe and comment in the meantime. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for watching. Have a super day and happy colouring.